So there was only one reason why I was able to do that cartwheel for you tonight or today. And that is because when I was in 5th grade, to be more specific, when I was 9 years old, I was bullied for not being able to do one. So I know this may sound weird, but when I was in high school, or to be more exact in primary, was bullied every single day by a girl in my year. She used to start by making fun of the way I dressed, or the way I walked, or the way I looked. But then it continued into something more. As time passed, she started following me around school. She even visited classes she wasn't a part of just to sit next to me, which is pretty creepy. But okay, the worst thing about my school day wasn't the school itself, it was what happened afterwards. So because my parents worked until the afternoon, I had to stay in a so-called daycare facility. And in that daycare, I ate my lunch, I got to play games with my friends, and I even did my homework. At least that was how it was supposed to be. But as we all know, life never plays out how we imagine it would. So when I arrived there, every day, that same girl was there as well. And every day she forced me to go to a so-called gymnasium, which was a kind of PE hall. And there, she persisted on trying to teach me how to do cartwheels, backflips, and any kind of acrobatic stunt. But that still wasn't enough for her. Because imagine me as a 9-year-old, okay, I was like this small. And I was absolutely terrified of heights as well as from jumping. I thought that if I did a backflip, I would just flat out fall on my face and possibly die. So I was absolutely terrified of doing that as well as of her. So when I failed to do these stunts, she first started screaming at me, which was normal, because for me, that's what I understood what bullies did. It was bullying. But then what I didn't expect is that with time, she got more physical. She started to beat me, she slapped me, and one time she even tried to suffocate me with a yoga mat. But at least it was a pink one. So, yeah. As the months got on, every day I was actually very terrified of seeing her and having to do that again. But I built up more courage, and I finally got to speak up about it to my parents. And when I finally left that situation and was free from her, one of my friends told me that that same exact girl was a part of an acrobatic sports team. And that didn't mean too much to me. But she also told me that that same girl was being bullied herself. She was bullied for not being able to do these stunts perfectly, which to me was kind of a wonder. Because why would the girl that wasn't able to do these things bully me for not being able to do the same? I didn't understand it then, but I do now. I saw a pattern. Hurt people hurt people. Okay, never mind. So, if you don't understand what that means, people who don't accept themselves also have a hard time accepting others. Meaning if you struggle with your self-worth, you're also struggling with accepting, loving, and caring for others the way you're supposed to. Now, if you get treated poorly by your peers or even your teachers or your parents, just know that it's not your fault. It's not your fault at all. It's not because you did something wrong or because you are not enough or because there's something within yourself that is wrong. It's because they themselves are struggling and that's why they're letting it out on you. So my question now was, why exactly is it that people don't accept themselves or have low self-esteem? This can have, as you could imagine, so many different reasons, like a history of abuse, fear of failure, or simply a history of neglect. But the 3 reasons that rank the highest are still being bullied, having inattentive or disapproving parents, as well as having to live with a mental illness. So imagine you would wake up every day and your parents would tell you constantly how dumb, stupid, or worthless you are. Imagine they would constantly let their emotions out on you and tell you that you are the problem and that you are not enough, even if it's not true. What happens if the people you're supposed to rely on with your life and the people you're supposed to depend on are telling you that you're not enough? Well, I can tell you what happens. You start to internalize these thoughts and think that way about yourself. Now imagine this happens to a small child. When we are young, we don't quite have a developed sense of ourselves yet. We don't know who we are, we don't know who we're meant to be, We don't know what to like. We don't know if we should like pizza or if we should like pasta, both or neither. So what happens if someone, or better said, an authority figure in our life, tells us that we're not enough? You start to adapt that mindset about yourself, even if it's not true. So just know it's not your fault. What I learned from this is that being kind to yourself is so hugely important now than never before. And I didn't even realize that until a few years ago. But being kind to yourself in reality is so much more than just what you see on social media or on TV shows, because that never really worked out for me and it wasn't real. Because in reality, it goes way beyond the physical world. It's establishing an acceptance of your body, your mind, your flaws, as well as your weaknesses. It's the way you act and the way you treat other people right in this moment. So if you start changing how you think about yourself and start with being kinder to yourself, you'll also start to change how you perceive others and how you perceive everything around you. Back to my bully. I went to a house once, and at one time was way more than enough. So when I arrived there, I could think about one thing and then one thing only, which is BoJack Horseman. So who of you guys watch BoJack Horseman? Yeah. So if you remember, his mom, Beatrice, was a horrible mom. But for the people who didn't watch it, BoJack was a horse, and he was starring in a very famous TV show called BoJack Horseman. And in some flashback episodes, you could see his relationship with his mom as well as his dad. And you got to experience the source of all his troubles themselves. His mom was absolutely horrible. She physically as well as verbally assaulted him. And the two things they had in common, BoJack's mom as well as my bully's mom, was, first of all, they were very, very unhappy. They were unhappy in their body, they were unhappy in their life, as well as their marriage and in their life situation in general. And second of all, both of them let all of their emotions out on their children. Even if they had no right to, they still did that and made their children feel like they are the burden and they are the reason why they're not happy. That's BoJack, by the way. So research from the University of Michigan as well as the King's College found out that in a group from 292 teenagers from the age of 11 to 14, the group with the lowest self-esteem was also the group with the highest levels of delinquency and aggression. So what that means is that the people who are hurt also have a higher potential of hurting others. Now, if I could ask you to stand up, I would like to ask you two questions. So everyone stand up. And if you agree with their questions, you sit down. And if you disagree, you can keep standing. So who of you had a negative thought about themselves today? If you agree, you sit back down. And if you agree, if you disagree, you keep standing. Okay, then everyone stand back up. And who of you had a negative thought about life in general today? Okay, you can all sit back down. Okay, that was really impressive, thank you. So a research from the National Science Foundation found out that an average human being has around 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day, which is already a lot. Now imagine 80% of those are negative, and 95 are repetitive. For us as humans, it's so natural that we tend to create more negative than positive thoughts. And it's almost automatic that we tend to complain about stuff, and I mean, we all love gossiping, right? So if we start with changing how we think, or simply start with being more aware of what we think, and if it's negative, neutral, or even positive, that's where you have to start. So I hope with this I could bring across what I would have needed to hear as a child, and that so I could still have fun doing cartwheels. Okay, it's very important. And I hope I shared, I made everyone who went through something similar or who's going through it right now feel heard and understood. And for the rest of you, shed light on these experiences and make them more approachable for you. So if you related to any of these experiences, I would highly encourage you to speak up or simply speak about it to someone you trust. And just so you know, there are people out there who want to help you, who truly care for you, and who truly love you. Thank you.